the best podcast in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The best defensive coordinator in the world. Sky, you like that? I can't wait to fight for my coaches this year, buddy.
Yeah. I already know.
Skywalker Steele, John Machota, Law Nation. We are here for a good time and for a long time. We got a loaded show for you all. The beauty of the Cowboys Collective is when things like this go down, you guys get to hear it from really one of the GOATs in the reporting scene, and that is John Machota. Like, as much as I'm thankful to be a part of this show, if I wasn't a part of the show, Sky would probably be watching, because I would definitely, want the insight from yourself, John, you being close to that building, inside that building, knowing how things go down. So what number of show are we on, Law? Before
87, number 87, episode 87.
Okay, so episode 87, episode Jake Ferguson, Pro
Bowler Jake Ferguson.
Shout out to Jake. So, but we all know the breaking news: the Dallas Cowboys have signed Christian Parker. John, tell us everything that we need to know about the signing and how it went down, and we'll get some good insight from the fellas tonight.
Kenyon Rambo wore 87, I guess.
Oh, wow. Kenyon Rambo.
What a name. What a name.
I don't know if that's the best. Remember Jeremy Sprinkle? I did in 2021. Anyway, sorry about that.
No, take your time.
I'm pretty surprised about this hire. And not for a bad reason. It shows you that there are some changes going on with how they go about their business. I mean, it's been a while. I started covering the team in 2011. And at that time, Rob Ryan was the DC. And then after they moved on from Rod, it was Monty Kiffin. And then that started the 2014 stretch of where everybody had previous NFL head coaching experience, from Rod Marinelli through Mike Nolan to Dan Quinn, Mike Zimmer, and then most recently Matt Eberflus. And so because of that, I felt like Jonathan Gannon would ultimately be the guy that they went with, just because we hadn't heard anything legitimate from them talking with Brian Flores. And now that we've seen some cards played there, it sounds like if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he's going to remain, the Vikings DC. And then it sounds like Jim Schwartz has a real chance to get that Broncos head coaching job. He's done multiple interviews with them. So that took out two of the top
Browns.
Yeah. Who did I say? I'm sorry.
Browns.
Yeah. Browns. And then, so that kind of leaves you with Gannon. And then I thought Jim Leonard would probably be next. And then obviously the Broncos are still playing right now. And who knows, if they win on Sunday, maybe that prolongs it even longer. And it doesn't sound like they wanted to wait any longer. And the one thing about Christian Parker that really stands out is that he's one of only three guys that out of the 9 they interviewed, he's one of only 3 that they then brought into the building. So they did a virtual interview, and then they brought him, to the Star for an in-person visit. He's a guy that, the Packers had interest in as potentially being their next DC with Jeff Hafley leaving. And so he's obviously highly sought of across the league. And I'm not surprised that he's a DC. Like, it sounds like from everything I've heard that he was lining up to be one. It's just that this isn't how the Cowboys typically go about it. And so that's why it's kind of refreshing would be one word to use. But there's also, they took a chance. I mean, there's unpredictability. To me, it reminds me a lot of last year at this time. Hiring Brian Schottenheimer, there's a lot of, unpredictability there. Clayton Adams as the OC, first-time OC. And so I bring this up to say that clearly Brian had a lot of say in this, and Brian's got to be right, because you can't just keep hiring new DCs every other year. Right. Unless, of course, they turn this thing from in the basement into like a top 5 defense, and Christian Parker's getting head coaching interviews. Well, hey, then you love it. That's fine. But I'm saying you can't have another Eberflus situation where Shoddy's spending extra time in the defensive meeting rooms because there's this, a little bit of growing pains along the way, And so I like the hire just because it is something fresh. He's a young guy, 34 years old. So I think that his ideas will be fresh with the players. And then obviously he has a lot of guys that he's coached in the defensive backfield that speak very highly of him. And so you just saw on social media today how highly some of those guys spoke of him with the words that they've shared. Some really outstanding defensive backs in this league. So I'm interested to talk to them. I'm sure they'll probably have them at the Star early next week. But there's just a lot of things that have to be answered. I think my last comment on, I'll just let you guys go, was just that, I was talking to my editor after, it became apparent that this was going down. And we were talking about how, like, if you go with Jonathan Gannon, how it's pretty easy to write something about how, hey, this is what his defenses have looked like, whatever, maybe if you go with even a Jim Leonard, you kind of go off of Wisconsin. It's tough with this situation because he's never called a defense before. Mm-hmm. And so while there can be negatives to that, like I said, there'll be some growing pains along the way. There is also the unpredictability of it, of where, yes, obviously comes from the Vic Fangio tree, but that doesn't mean he's going to come out there and do the stuff, everything that Vic did. Right. And so there's a newness to it that's pretty refreshing.
Man, that's good.
Good stuff, John. Yeah, I read your article. I thought it was really well written. And I saw you got Mark. What's his name, John? I don't want to mess his name up. That you guys combined with on that article.
So now there were a couple. Now we have 2 Eagles writers. And so because of that, Zach Berman, not Mark. Yeah. And Brooks Cabina, they both added their insight because obviously they had been around him the last couple of years. And what they shared basically was just how basically everybody in the building knew he wasn't going to be there very long. He was just a fast riser and he was very well respected around the league. And so they didn't expect him to be in that role very long. Like he was going to get a DC job somewhere. So they had a lot of other things. So obviously click on the article, but that was basically the gist of it, that nobody in Philadelphia is really surprised. Maybe they're surprised that he's going to the division rival,
right?
But I don't think anybody there in the building surprised that he's getting a DC opportunity.
Yeah, man. Great stuff, John, as always. So what we want to do now is I want to just go around the room, including yourself, John. We'll start with you, Law. What were your initial, as soon as you heard the hire, what were your initial thoughts, Law Nation?
Yeah. Look at my African-American over here.
That was my initial thought.
Wants to sell, John.
No, that's real.
You know what? That is Law. Talk about it. We can talk about that big old elephant in the back of the room.
Yeah.
All the more reason why this is a shoddy hire.
Yeah. They give Schottenheimer extreme power now because of the simple fact now he have an understudy. Someone, I'm trying to keep my face straight. You know how it goes. Hey, he's someone that can really galvanize troops, can speak their language, can say, hey, look at my resume, look at Pat Surtain, look at what we did with Cooper, DeJean. So he got a walking thing that he can go around with. And then he have 2 years of scouting inside the building of the Eagles. Say what you want to say, but I would love to have the day that my quarterback can go in the second half and throwing one pass and win the game or 0 completions and win the game. I would like to have that end on my side over here with the Cowboys. So when I look at this hire, I say that this is a slam dunk because of the spontaneity, the creativity that I know he's going to bring to the table. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, it's something new. So we're going to have to, I give Jerry Jones some flowers if we start to also marry this with the aspect of free agency and some restructures of contracts so we can get things really moving and grooving before we go to the draft. But I'm very excited. The cherry on the top with this, if this all work out, guess what? It spits this good stuff at the Joneses about the fact that they get some type of things in return, because if he gets promoted to a head coach something, we get something back in return. So I do like that aspect too, by the way.
Great stuff, Law.
Those picks for the third round, I think it's 2 third-round draft picks, I believe.
Come on with it, Law.
Yeah.
They say.
Yep.
Still.
I gotta follow that up, man. Just as excited, bro, because this is something different, as John alluded to, Law alluded to. We saw the last 5 or 6 defensive coordinators were either 50-something years old, 60-something years old, or previous head coaches, failed head coaches trying to chase past glory, or I want to say failed defensive coordinators, but successful defensive coordinators trying to chase past glory, as opposed to a hungry defensive coordinator trying to make a name for himself. That's what really excited me.
That's a good,
that because I think that's going to pour a different type of energy into that room with these players outside of the teachings and the intricacies that I know Foots will get to. And we had Coach A on, or I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name you had on earlier. on your show that broke
Cody Alexander.
Coach A, they call him Coach Alexander. So they had him on the show, and you had him on the show, and he was breaking down the details. But just kind of
thank you for watching still.
Oh yeah, come on, fantastic, of course. Outside of those details, just the kind of intangibles, if you will, I think is major for this specific time for the Cowboys, because you let a coach pick the guy that matches who he is and his energy and what he wants to bring. When Shotty went up on that podium and said, "This is what I'm looking for my next defensive coordinator," I think you could have ruled out a handful of these dudes just because they didn't fit what they wanted. Right. And the one that kind of fit what the Cowboys usually go with, former head coach, was Jonathan Gannon. Problem was that was more Jones than it was Shotty to me, because Jonathan Gannon intangibles just didn't fit. So it came down to the Leonards of the worlds, the Parkers and the Joneses of the worlds. And the more you kept hearing about Parker, the more you came back saying, if it ain't here, it's somewhere. Yeah. And if it ain't now, it's next year. And one of the things I said to Foots was, look, it sounds like Jim Leonard was going to be a guy that's going to get a head coaching job fairly soon. I didn't think Durante Jones would get one fairly soon. I think Parker is a guy that sounds like he's along the same lines. Right. But because he's so young, because he hasn't done it yet, I think you do have a longer runway with him. I think you'll get at the very minimum 3 years to be able to build something, and not just build something for those 3 years, but build underneath him. Yeah. That way that you can bring somebody else up with it too. So I think this is just a home run hit all the way around. And like I said, we'll get into more details of what he brings. But for me, it's the intangibles for right now. The details and all that stuff is a plus.
Yeah, man, everybody, I just want to listen to y'all talk, because I've said enough. I've said my piece on Twitter. I think that his rise speaks to the type of worker that he is. And 10 years ago, this guy was coaching D-backs at Virginia State.
Right.
You can't rise the way that he has without being, number one, a hard worker, but number two, and I think most importantly, like, if Vic Fangio is saying that I have to have this guy in Philly, because that's basically what he said. I need him. He brought him with him from Denver to Philly to coach my DBs. That's special to me. Like, that's a guy, because, you know, Cody, he said earlier, everybody can't coach with Vic. Vic's he's a jerk. Like, he's not but and this is, I think, when we talk about Shotty, as I organize my thoughts, we talk about Shotty. Shotty wanted somebody who could relate to the players. That doesn't mean that they have to be that he's going to be likable, because Sky, we were talking about this, and you made a great point when I was talking about Matt Eberflus, and I was like, well, Matt Eberflus's body language and how he captures a room, would that matter if he was coaching it up and if the scheme made sense? I don't think that Vic Fangio is the nicest person or somebody that people like, but Vic is known to take away great offensive schemes. And he's known to be a guy that has had great defenses. And I think that you're getting some of that when you get this guy in.
Can I add something? Shouts out to Jonathan Onen, who made me think about this even further, because we've had this conversation very small in passing. Remember we talked about Vic's time, or at least I did, Vic's time in Miami, where Vic was not bad, by the way. The defense wasn't bad, but it didn't resonate with the players. So it was one and done for him, not because he was a bad coordinator, because the players just wasn't feeling him. Guess who wasn't on staff? Christian Parker.
That's crazy.
Guess who was on staff in Denver when he was there? Christian Parker. Guess who was on staff while he's in Philly? Christian Parker. So it made me say, you know what? Well, it makes sense now why Fangio is able to get his message across to these 21, 22-year-olds when he's 68 or whatever it may be. And he's an old grumpy get off my yard. He's that type of guy. He's 100% that. Because everything coming out of Miami was, man, we go listen to Jalen Ramsey. He ain't like him. Xavier Howard, they was pissed. It wasn't because they weren't been put in position to succeed. It was a good scheme. He wasn't relatable. He was a mean old man, whatever. You can say soft, you can call it whatever you want with this generation of players. They ain't going nowhere. So
Right.
you need a guy that can relate to them. So quit asking.
Yeah.
You need a guy that can relate to him. And Christian Parker, if he was the middling man for that, now he's your lead guy. It'll be exciting to see how he builds his staff out.
Yeah, and that'll put a lot more on his plate too, because Vic is a guy that coaches from up in the booth. So Christian Parker is a guy that's been on the sidelines, and let's be honest, like you can do great Monday through Saturday, but he will ultimately, his success will depend on how he adjusts and the things he does on Sundays. And so that'll be a big part of his adjustment too, is that there's probably things that he was able to do in his previous role that now you probably have to be a little bit more of the bad guy than you've ever been before. And that's not that you have to be a dick, but you're going to have to do some of that stuff a little more where you're just like, no, this is what we're doing. I'm the defensive coordinator and I'm calling it this way for a reason, So, but I anticipate he'll be on the sideline, just like Eberflus was. I don't see him being a guy that would be up in the coaching booth, but that is a Vic Fangio thing, probably because of a lot of things that Sky just said, he's let him call it. He's obviously very good at that. His resume speaks for itself. I fully believe that he deserved to get Super Bowl MVP last year. I thought he was as much as important as Jalen Hurts was. I thought he was outstanding with the way he called that game, but there are some things about him that probably players don't love. So that's the other thing with Parker. I mean, who he picks to be on his staff,
Yes,
certainly.
I'm interested to see if any of these other guys end up there, like out of the 9 guys they interviewed, because I just keep going back to when they ended up going with Dan Quinn, they only interviewed 3 guys, and one of the other ones outside of Dan was Joe Witt Jr., who ended up having on the staff. So I think at the very least, out of the people they interviewed, I would imagine Aaron Whitecotton would be staying as the defensive line coach. I haven't been told that, but I could see him staying, and then maybe another one of those guys they also brought in that, depending on their other opportunities, could potentially be on the staff too. But his staff will be very interesting, because I would think that, and I could be wrong on this, but I kind of wonder if he'll have like I'm not saying this person, but I'm just saying like kind of somebody like almost like how George Edwards was, kind of some veteran type,
defensive assistant.
Someone that he's come across throughout his coaching career. Because I mean, he's obviously a young dude, but I mean, he's got ties with like Mike Elko and player. I mean, guys in the college game. He was at Notre Dame for a year. So, I mean, he's been at some places that obviously have had good coaches. So I'm very interested in seeing how they fill out the rest of the defensive staff as well.
Most certainly. And if I'm him, I'm quite sure some of the people that interviewed, I'm trying to reach out to Durante Jones and saying, hey, man, if there's any way, I still need a passing game coordinator. We can assemble a 4 all-star defensive team, just like the Zach Orr. If he don't get a job, even though it's something that he's from this area, he can reach out to him and say, hey, man, I need a linebacker specialist guy, man. And I heard nothing but glowing news about you, man. If there's any possibility, we can literally have a switch of things just like that and be one of those premium defenses in the National Football League.
The only one I'll say about Jones, though, I think he gets that Vikings DC job if Flores
moves on.
Was to get a head coaching job. I mean, there's still, I want to say 5 jobs are still open right now.
Right. It's a lot.
It is a wild.
After the Senior Bowl, we'll start to see the staff fill out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I like your thoughts, Law. I'm with you on all that.
I will say, when it comes to the coverage scheme of things, I'd be shocked if he didn't try to get somebody that has some type of experience in the Fangio 6 or something along the lines. Because I do think Flores and Fangio's defenses are drastically different. So not that Durante Jones wouldn't be, and not just him, anybody that comes up under anything like that wouldn't fit in a way of coaching and technique and things like that. But I do think it'd be smart for him to get somebody that can help fast track this scheme, because it is a complex in a good way. I say complex, I don't mean it's going to be extremely hard for these guys to get in. Oh, it's going to be Eberflus all over again. No, it's complex for the other team, right? Like, we'll show you one thing, we'll disguise another thing, but it's very strict on its rules. And not that a guy that hasn't done it can't come here and coach it. But if you're trying to fast track this, just like all the other coordinators that brought in their veteran defensive players from different, organizations, a la Eric Hendricks and who's the other cat that came from? He was the linebacker that got hurt. He came over for Eberflus. They brought him in here.
Okay.
No. Eric Hendricks. Sanborn was the other guy. Could there be a Kobe Dean type of situation, Blankenship type of situation? You could do that with the coach. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you can poach anymore from the Eagles, but maybe you go look at Evira. Is his last name Evira over there?
He's Elijah or Ija. Yeah, but I forget it.
Coach
He's a good coach.
Vance Joseph's scheme, and then some of their disciples, where you can kind of piece it together. Like, hey, you know what I want to do. I know what you want to do, and how you teach it. That way, we can have this thing maybe hit the ground running sooner rather than later.
And Scott, although it may be a part of his vision board, but also let's not leave out Schottenheimer. He may already have a few guys that he have in mind, and by Schottenheimer being the head honcho over here, he can literally say, "Okay, Parker, I can help assist you with this, and this is what the identity of the team that I'm looking for." I wanted to throw that in, but go ahead, Scott. My bad.
No, one other thing I was going to add too is that when you talk about that Eagles scheme, Dak had talked about this a bunch throughout the last year, beyond the last year, especially like at his locker, whenever they were to play the Eagles, or even just talking about other defenses, he would always say that the Eagles defense isn't the most difficult, but everybody's on the same page there. Like, they're not asking their guys to do a ton, but everything they do, all the adjustments, everybody is locked in on the same page, and they just know what they're doing on an elite level. And that's obviously why they had the success they did a year ago.
100%. I wanted Sky to stay right there. He does. That's y'all too. I love when it works out like this. When you guys, it's layup drills, right? And Sky's, I think people are. I saw a few things. There was like,
I saw a lot of things.
He's bend but don't break, and that's not the truth. See, there's a few schemes and families. Like Monty Kiffin was true. We want to keep everything in front of us. That's not Vic Fangio stuff. Fangio stuff is disguise based, trap based. It's, they're really good at getting you. It's multiple. And I just, I don't want people to jump ahead and
combo coverages. That back, I would say 7. That's what I'll say. The back 7, and that's again. I don't want to get too in detail because I don't force to touch on it.
Yeah,
people are under this assumption that Christian Parker won't know anything about the front 7. From everything that I've read, listened to, what have you, he's a guy that said, no, we need to know what everybody is doing, because his defense is predicated on, and I'm gonna say back 7, on what the linebackers are doing, what the cornerbacks are doing, what the safeties are doing, and we're going to marry it with that front, right? Because Vic Fangio is very much rush 4, and he'll do 5 sometimes, but he's very much comes from that tree. And so when you're talking about coverages, that second level is very important. So I don't think that he's just clueless of what to do, and what the guys in front of him. So I am excited to see how he can incorporate, because don't get it twisted. It's going to be a lot of the Fangio style stuff. This is the first time he's been a defensive coordinator. He's come up under that guy. That's his mentor, right? Usually you will get a lot of that early. Now, he may learn some different things and piece it off, but you go look at everybody. Anybody that's come up under somebody, they've run that type of stuff very early until they figured those stuff out. So I'm excited, because anybody that's followed me knows I was a huge Fangio fan. I wanted him here in Dallas. When he was available instead of Zim. I actually wanted him when before DQ, but DQ kind of worked out anyway. But if I can't get him, give me the right hand man and see if we can make it work.
Yeah, the one other thing I was going to say is that also where the NFL is now, I don't believe you can do what used to be done on defense, where you're just like, this is what we are, this is what we do. Like, everybody has to be multiple now. You can't just go and be like, we're just bend but don't break. Right. Or what we do is we just blitz all the time. We're super aggressive up front. There has to be disguising. These quarterbacks are too good nowadays. And so the quarterbacks taking everything to the next level, I believe, started to a certain extent with a lot of stuff done at the line by like guys like Peyton Manning. And that caused defenses to change, where now they have to do things and disguise things more than ever. And so I just don't believe that a young guy like this is going to be like, nope, this is what we do, and this is all we're going to do. Like, yeah, believe that on week 1 and week 2, and then watch what happens in week 3 or week 4. Right. Like, what was bend but don't break about what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl against Mahomes? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just, I don't know. I
didn't blitz at all, not literally.
Right. Right. Just able to get home with the 4, right?
Got home with the 4. But he tailored the scheme to that specific game, and that's a veteran guy putting that game plan together.
Yeah,
but he was a part of that, right? Like that's the other thing too. No, seriously, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like the best you got out of a defensive coordinator over the last I don't know how many years was a guy that won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator.
Right.
There's something to that. Now, I'm not saying that Christian Parker is he was a defensive coordinator, but he won a Super Bowl and was integral in putting that stuff together. I think that matters. When I go in front of you and I get on that podium and I'm teaching you this way, hey, here's the film of us whooping ass against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl just 2 years ago. Okay, so I think that holds a little bit more weight than, hey man, I'm Matt Eberflus and I had a very mediocre Bears defense.
And then those Cowboys players in that meeting room will go, yeah, we don't have that Eagles talent. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, and you know
it's his job to get it. But
I was about to say, I'm gonna ask y'all. I got some fun stuff here. I was writing down some notes. I'm gonna ask y'all what went down in that interview and what did Parker say? Because one of the things that I want you guys to like, if I'm Parker, I'm telling him, hey, we can't do this. This guy needs to be here, and he's so detailed.
Right.
So one of the things that people need to know about Christian Parker, and I'm not going to act like I'm some expert. I literally asked Cody, who knows him, and read John's article and read your coworkers, your colleagues' article. He was Vic Fangio's box guy. So even though Vic does call it from the box, every DC has a guy who's like, hey, who he lost that pause. Every DC has a guy who's like, hey, what are we getting here? Like, I don't know who does it for Shoddy, but Shoddy will have somebody who, hey, what do we like here?
I think it's Shimko.
Is it the quarterback coach on this guy?
Yeah, Steve Simcoe.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. So like when you're that, and this kind of goes to Sky's point when he was talking about he's never called a defense. Yeah, it's different when you have literally a top 5 defensive coordinator ask you, hey, what do we like here? What's our count? Hey, what? And you have to be able to spit that stuff out. You got to be able to give the adjustments in real time. Another thing that everybody, if you've heard anything about him, is that on the whiteboard, he's a demon. In interview in hostile situations, he can spit this stuff out, and that matters because if you've ever coached, if you ever called it anything, like people can feel your energy. Do you believe in this stuff?
Right.
Do you believe in what you're calling? Do you believe in and it goes back to what Sky said. I can show you why we move Cooper DeJean to the nickel for these reasons. He's a good outside corner, but he's an all-pro nickel. And that position is now one of the most important positions in football. Go ask the Seahawks, go ask, all these top defenses. This is the why. So
and let me echo what you're saying too. There was a game this past season, of course. Schottenheimer was like basically saying, "Hey guys, look, we got CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, man. Come on." So I'm quite sure on the inverse and the flip side, one of the things that probably Christian Parker was saying in that interview is we got framework. You got Quinnen Williams already in the building. Absolutely. You got the aspect of a Kenny Clark in the building already. So if we can do any similarities, not the same, but similarities, we can probably replicate what Jalen Carter can do right here in Texas, and everybody who played DB, you're reading from that front, you're reading from your keys from the linebackers. So yes, I'm quite sure that everything up front will mirror match. And this defense is about to go crazy because he can already go into that room boldly and say, okay, now let's continue to build pieces and stack this team just like they had in 2024 for the Eagles.
I'm sure that part of his sales pitch.
Go crazy.
Say again.
About to go crazy. We ain't even drafted nobody yet.
I'm talking about in the aspect of framework of what he's saying, basically.
Scheme.
Scheme wise. Scheme wise. We still got pieces to put in place.
They roll out this team. It ain't going crazy.
But I'm quite sure that he could walk in there boldly with Quinnen Williams, right? And then he said, okay, now give me a linebacker that can replicate that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
I see what you're saying.
I'm sure when he was in that meeting, a big part of his sales pitch was how he was going to fix the back end too. I mean, that's his area of expertise. They have 2 first-round picks. Obviously, they use premium picks to get Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. He obviously has the ability to identify guys that he likes on that back end. And don't get me wrong, the whole defense was a disappointment, but you can make the argument. Actually, you're not. The linebackers are the biggest. Second, though,
the corners was rough too, though, man.
Yeah.
The worst pass defense ever.
The secondary was terrible. So that's a big part. I guarantee you his sales pitch was about what he can bring in, the things he can do to turn it around. And obviously, like I said, having those early picks. I mean, at this point, I just would be very surprised if one of those 2 picks isn't a cornerback.
Same.
Right.
I have thoughts about this, y'all. I would not be surprised if Dallas doubles down on the secondary, but we have plenty of time to talk about that.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if he comes in and brings in all of a sudden a value for the safety position? Oh my
God.
God.
Come on, man. Real value.
Hey, John,
what is that world like?
John, not only can I imagine it, I've thought in my head about how are we getting Caleb Downs on this team because of what the nickel looks like. Now, I don't want to do this to myself, John. But all right, so this is what I will say, and then we'll go to break. Before it's like Caleb Downs with Matt Eberflus or Caleb Downs with even John Gannon, maybe. But with this guy, he can, because all you know what I mean, Scott? All you have is your resume. So it's one thing, okay, maybe you lucked in the past Surtain. We thought he'd be good, but J.C. Horn, a few other. I was higher on J.C. Horn. I raised my hand. I went on Sky's show. I probably had J.C. over Surtain. Well, he's now the best corner in the league. Who was he first? Who was his first coach?
Come on.
Christian Parker.
Don't stay there, because I have many people.
It was
just
he
had Surtain, he had Cooper, he had Kenyon, and well, guys, just because you're drafted in the first round does not mean you're going to be an all-pro. Like he helped coach them to be an all-pro. It's not a mistake. Those guys have come out publicly and said, I would not be the guy I am without that dude. That's not for play. I think that's legitimate. So yes, if you draft a very talented guy in the first round, you got a guy that's learned how to coach that guy up to all pro level. By the way, you have a first round talent already on the team in Savon Ravel. And you already have a former Pro Bowler who is looking to get back on the right track. And what better guy to get back on the right track than a dude who has developed all pros? So, I mean, you're talking about the back end. You draft yourself at least one corner, maybe even a corner and a safety to put down there with a Revel and Bland, and you got a young guy that can relate to them and coach them up. I mean, that's a home run pairing, in my opinion.
Right.
People. This, we do this in the draft world, Sky. It's in this draft. We talk about that all the time with Sky when I'm on when we do our list, and then we do if he goes to the right spot. Well, now this just became one of those right spots. It did. Show me the staff, bro. So again,
I'm excited for that. I want to see
Quinyon Mitchell. Maybe Toledo, small school guy. He's all pro in his second year. That's not a mistake, guys.
Yeah.
DeJean was not going to be all pro with any other, because they probably would have just stuck him on the outside, and maybe he would have. Okay, maybe I'm misspeaking there, but I'm guaranteeing you, Parker saying, "Hey Vic, I like this guy on the outside." They could have easily just said, "Hey, I like Adoree Jackson, but let's keep DeJean." But for their defense to work, Cooper DeJean literally has to be at that nickel, robbing and guarding tight ends and covering and tackling. I'm telling you now, that's Parker saying, "Guys, I've seen it. I know what he could do. I've been around, and you move him here, he's going to be special." And I think
what, Foots,
you have that is important.
You know what's also, Foots, when people dive deep into the draft, I'm only in eight players deep right now, and I'm realizing this draft, ladies and gentlemen, is good on the DBs, man.
Yeah,
this is a good DB draft, and I think that, man, we can find some specialty sauces in this class of DBs with this particular coach now.
No, 1,000%. Let's get to the break, guys.
Yes,
and we'll start talking about this identity and how things will change.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Yeah.
Sleeper, make sure you guys are using code HMA. Sleeper, guys, I'm telling you, if you guys are watching, well, everybody's probably going to be snowed in, so you're going to be watching these playoff games, even basketball. They got so many good plays, John. I know you watching your Duke basketball. I don't know. See, I stay away from college basketball. I don't like betting on these babies because they will let you down every time.
They betting on themselves. I don't know if you see all that. Out there throwing money at them.
Hey, still, I'm telling you,
this shit is crazy.
you want to be let down, bet on college football, basketball. That's all I'm going to tell you. You probably let down the NFL. All right, let's talk about the identity. And for me, I'll get the conversation going, guys. One thing that I had a problem with last year was that we played with no grit. Nobody was hungry. Nobody was gritty. Nobody was talking ish. Like everybody
so are you saying that because maybe you watched some of these playoff games recently and it seems like every team in the playoffs does have that? Okay, sorry, go
on. John, I'm watching Nick Emmanwori and I'm watching Seattle, Mike McDonald. People, you want to talk about a guy
Houston,
who runs a lot
New
of the
England.
same stuff? These guys are dogs.
Vrabel, D'Amico,
good defensive minds, bro. Yeah. And we had guys who the confusion. What do you think that Parker can bring to? Because I did a deep dive and I'm watching how he's talking trash back and forth with the OC and a few of the offensive players in Denver. What do you guys think that he will do for the mentality of this team? And if you don't know, that's cool too. But what do you guys think he'll do for the mentality of this team?
Yeah, I have to see more from that side because right now it seems to be more technical. Right, more detailed, more teacher oriented, more high IQ. But the actual personality, I just don't have enough yet to go off of it. But I will say this, just by piecing things together, he's 34. The players are only going to be like 10 years younger than him, as opposed to 40 years younger than him. He's a millennial, right? He's come up in some of the same ways these guys have come up. Some of 34 is still on a teetering, but he'll be able to relate. And I think even said it where I don't want to misquote, but he said something along the lines of, I want to find out what this guy does best and get the best out of him every time. And everybody may not do the same thing. Right. I may have to teach this guy one way and teach this guy another way. And he also said something along the lines of, I'm not going to treat every player the same. Right. Because every player is not the same. So from a talk trash standpoint, things like that, I'm not sure what to expect from there just quite yet. Yeah. But I just do think the youngest defensive coordinator in Cowboys history, that is going to resonate throughout that room for sure, because there wasn't a single player, whether it's past or present, that said anything about Flus. But soon as Brett left, they flooded Twitter about him. So that says a lot.
It does, man.
About Parker, excuse me.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, man, Matt Eberflus, bro, go be great, Dallas.
Right.
Hey, bro, that Matt Eberflus bracket is about to be lit. Nobody said that on Twitter. Scott, one tweet about Matt Eberflus?
Not one. No. But one thing I can say is that, he will be able to identify with the culture, man. If it's time to put the Black Air Forces on, man, I'm quite sure that he will understand the cost. He will understand the
Do-Rag Parker.
Do-Rag Parker, he'll know that this is the type of game that we need to see out there. So this is the type of energy that we need to match. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for as far as the identity. Like, it's still the unknown, right? It's still absolutely the unknown. So let's see how his next move would be, and that would be the most important move.
John, you got any?
Yeah, I don't have any disagreements with that. I just I'm interested to see what Schottenheimer expects of him. I'm interested.
Maybe we can pivot to that. Yeah.
Will he, like, when we eventually talk to Christian Parker, like, it just seems like this is such a Schottenheimer hire. Like, hey, this is your job's on the line. We're going to let you do the search that you need to do to find this. Obviously, this search for him looked very similar to how he put together his coaching staff last year. And so I don't know. It's tough for me to say about exactly how different I think the identity will be, because I think that Brian Schottenheimer's established an identity that he wants the team to look like.
Right.
And they had talked about how really what they were looking for was a guy that was similar to the way Schottenheimer goes about coaching, which obviously isn't Matt Eberflus. So this seems to align more with that. So I would think the upbeat, like up tempo, high energy type thing will definitely be part of the identity. But to me, the identity has a lot to do with, tell me who the players are. Like, I mean, obviously we know Quinn and we know Kenny Clark and Osa and these guys, but like, what do they do at corner to add, which I think, like I said, they'll use a first round pick there, but linebacker needs to be fixed. That's such a big part of it. He's obviously going to have a linebacker that he'll bring in, a veteran type, just like this happened in the past. And you say that with this Cowboys team, because there's nobody that you're looking at right now outside of Overshown where you're like, okay, well, this guy absolutely has to be part of it. They're still probably looking for whoever he thinks is a good middle linebacker for what he wants to do. So I need to see probably a little bit more from the players until I know, or I feel more confident about saying exactly what the identity will be. But the one thing is, it does seem like the players will be much more bought in than they were this past season.
I think my bad, Law. I think that as I'm listening to y'all talk, I think the defense will communicate better. I don't know if that's an identity thing, but maybe that's just like a tangible thing. Yeah, like they're gonna communicate. But another thing is, if you look at Philly's defenses, hate the Birds, they play fast, bro. Now, I don't know if we have that personnel. We don't. Now, I love our defensive line room, and I think some of the stuff that you saw from Philly do on the defensive line, especially your big three, you might see some 3-4 stuff as well. I think you're gonna see some 3-4
about
stuff.
to get to that.
You about to say that? I'm not gonna bury your lead there, Sky.
Oh, you're good.
I will say this: if you cut on Philly, those jokers are flying to the football. Even in the loss, when the offense couldn't get going, Bond to the football, Dean to the football. The corners, Quinyon got attacked early, he bounced back to the football. The corners tackle. All of those corners, except maybe outside of Adoree Jackson, that's never been his game. But those guys are gonna come up and hit you. That's some of the identity stuff that it was the same thing in Denver. All of those guys tackle. Riley Moss, all those guys, everybody that he's put his hands on, and as far as corner and safety, those guys tackle. I think though you're starting there fundamentally, and I'm excited about that. But Scott, because people now, everybody who wanted this 3-4, here you go.
There you go.
Yep. When you were talking about identity, that's what I thought you were actually talking about. Till you start mentioning, the personality traits. I was thinking more so we're about to go back to not front. I've been calling it multiple because you're going to be doing multiple things, but you still have to have an identity. You have to have a foundation, a base of who you are. And Fangio, Vance Joseph, Vero, they're all odd front defensive coordinators. You think he's just going to flip and go to 4-3? No. He's going to be an odd front guy. We're going to get some of these. Get ready for Rocco to stand up.
Yeah.
So when we go into the draft, get ready to see if you get some more pass rushers that are going to be stand up guys. Maybe you get some more true 5-tech guys here. Maybe not, because you got Clark now and Osa that can go out there and do that possibly. But to me, they aren't legitimate 5-techs. But that's a whole nother discussion. But to fast track it, maybe they do it anyway. So I would say from a schematic standpoint, identity-wise, get ready for more odd stuff and get ready for the Cowboys to address it in that way. Kind of similar, I think about it, when Quinn came in here. Quinn was not a multiple coordinator. He was not a 3-4 guy, but he said, I need to be multiple. He brought in Brent Urban, right, of the world's, the Terrell Bashams of the world's, guys that either play 5-tech, stand up, and do multiple different things. Drafted Micah and said, we're going to move you all over the place.
Yeah.
Can Parker come in here and bring that type of situation back? Not so much like Quinn, where Quinn wasn't primarily odd, where I think Fangio, Joseph, Vero, they all are. You'll see a lot of head up, nose tackle guy. You'll get a Zach Allen 5-tech guy right over there in Denver. You'll get a Jomo who also plays that DT, the 5-tech stuff. And don't be surprised to go get yourself a damn Jordan Davis at some point. Not the Jordan Davis, but Jordan Davis-esque. And then you bump out when Clark goes, you move old boy outside to play more shaded out to that 5-tech. So I think we're about to shift for the first time back to a true 3-4 since the Rob Ryan days, which that was just carried over really from Wade, right? They carried over the 3-4 from Wade. But since then, we haven't done that. What, John, you came over 2011. That was 2011, right?
Yeah.
Since
Bruce Carter, Sean Lee, Ware, Anthony Spencer.
Yeah. Those guys was pretty much
I wish we would have did that when we had the other guy here. I think it would have been fantastic, but hey, it's what it is.
Yeah, I'm following you, what you're saying, Sky. And then on top of that, when we start talking about like the identity of what he's going to get as far as to fit those 3-4s, just to fast forward into free agency, we may get a little luck now with, I believe, Bradley Chubb, if he's available, or whoever probably coached under Vic Fangio / CP. So that's a good thing. But one thing I can tell you, I can't wait to see the war room, because we would know if it's going to be a defensive player when you see CP probably on camera. We got CP on camera. It's the 12th pick.
Law.
The Cowboys select, it's going to be a defensive player.
If we Clayton Adams in there, I'm going to be livid. Because why?
It's an offensive player.
Hey, what a great transition.
Yeah. Offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman, if you see Clayton Adams.
And I want to actually, because I'll be at the Senior Bowl next week, and I'll be doing a show live from there with you guys. And what a great transition, Law. I want to ask you guys this, and I want to make sure I frame this correctly. Did we say, and I was like, man, keep the coaches out the room now. I now am changing my mind. I want this coach in the room.
Right. You bring him in.
And you know what room I'm talking about, Law. Right. And now it's so tough because he has to build his staff. He has to start teaching a scheme. He has to think of a plan. I'm so glad that they got this done early and they didn't drag it out, John. He probably creeps down to the Senior Bowl. But when they start having those meetings, I want his voice loud when it comes to looking at players, looking at what he needs for his scheme, because you'd have to think, and shout out to 1K people in here. Wow. Shout out to y'all making the Cowboys Collective the best podcast in the world. Yeah, man. Shout out to y'all.
Hey, one of the best things is that we didn't do this show until today.
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Come on, what I say, you did, bro.
Sky.
I be knowing.
You gotta give us some time, man.
Let this thing cook. And I'm gonna say this though, Johnny. I want Parker to be given the autonomy to bring in what he needs. Don't do the things that you've done in the past where it's like, hey, we're gonna put such and such on you. Hey, this player. If he goes in this room, and we got time to talk about the roster, but if he looks at said player and said, guys, I probably can't get him better. Gotta move on, John.
Oh yeah.
Or I gotta
go with your or.
Town. I gotta go to negative town.
Do it. That's
okay, go ahead. Take the gloves off. Take the gloves off.
Come on.
You also don't need him stepping in there and overselling some guy the scouts don't love, because that's how you get Tristan Hill.
So this goes all the way back.
That's fair.
To one of my original points from a few weeks ago.
Taco Charlton instead TJ Watt. Sorry, go on.
You have to establish a philosophy that goes way above the coordinator.
Yeah.
Like this is what if we want to now be for the next decade. Remember, one of the things I saw Mike McDonald say. Sorry for going off on a tangent.
No. We got 1,000 people.
I was going to tweet this out before the Parker news. Mike McDonald said, "Guys, I'm excited because we have what I have lined up for you in this program is a vision." He used program and vision.
Come on.
The Cowboys don't have neither of those because they continue to just say, all right, we got another defense coordinator. We're just going to do what you want. All right, cool. Kenneth Murray, cool. What defense coordinator, what you want? All right, cool. What you want? At some point, you have to supersede that and establish a philosophy, or we're going to keep doing it. But here's the tricky part, because you're right, Foots. Yeah. They have to say, what do you need?
Hey, bro.
but can I jump in? Can I jump in and say this right here, though? Not all fights are negative. I want the offensive guy to be able to speak loudly and let these fights be real fights. Let's not be a passive team and say, if the offensive guy is sitting there saying, nah, I'm going to defer to you. No, I want good passion fights about the player you stand tall on that building.
For the draft?
For the draft. I really want a real fight. Like if they were really fighting in their room, Taco would never made it. If somebody was really fighting, just like Tristan Hill, if they're really fighting, Tristan Hill wouldn't have made it,
That's how you get
countering.
That's how you get Viliami Falco. I'll just play
I'm not really talking about offense versus defense. I'm more so talking about because Foots is saying give Park, and I think they should because they almost have no choice, right? You're with the talent pool is very bare in the defensive room, but if they're going to do that, I need the front office to say, okay, this is what we're going to be. Very akin to when Parcells got here, okay?
Yeah.
When Parcells got here, there was no we're switching to no 4-3 when he left. What'd they bring in? Wade Phillips. After Wade Phillips, Rob. So they stayed with a 3-4 base philosophy, whatever you want to call it. Back then it was really 3-4 for a decade, a better part of a decade. So if this is going to be our program, this is our vision.
Right.
And I want you to start that program, but it won't stop with you because if you have success, you're going to be gone. The next guy is then going to do this, is going to work within our program so that we can take the players you picked, the guys we signed, and extend it, and they fit within that same vision that we had before you got here or whatever, right? So it is a tricky part, but it's gonna go above Christian Parker. Jerry has to step back and say, McClay, this is what we want to do. Now you lead the charge in regards to personnel, regards to draft and the building a board and free agency. We want to be odd. We want to be this is what he wants, and we're going to stick to this for the better part of a half decade plus. And you just live with the results, man, until you hit.
Yeah.
Right. True.
I can honestly say, fellas, like Shotty aced this, and here's why. We talked about it early, Sky. Man, and will it work? We don't know. I'm talking about the process. As far as let's not do the same song and dance, man. We've been listening to some of that stuff for years. It could be an artist that we don't like, it could be an artist that grows on you, but let's listen to a new song. And the thing is, the reason why I said I saw Tom, and Tom is one of the commenters that I do love. I try to blank the comments out, but I don't want the coaches in the room. I want this coach in the room. You know why I want this coach in the room? Because he's not so far removed from the college game. He's not so far removed from, Sky, when you I'll let people, when you a quality control guy, bro, you doing the dirty work. Like you putting together game plans, you putting together cut-ups, you in the trenches. He's not so far removed from scouting. I think one of the issues that the Cowboys have had is they get guys who come in the room is just like they watch for 10 minutes. And John, you could probably speak to this because you talk to these guys when they had these meetings and how they go, and they're probably like, when really the great ones leave no stone unturned. Like it's not a mistake that Mike McDonald, this is why he's great. He's also 38 and he's great. He traded up 17 spots to get Nick Imawari. He was like, I don't care what the NFL thinks about him. I don't care what he's going to do this in my scheme, and I want to go get him. Everybody passed on him. Good. You guys aren't smart. Cool. He was the same one who drafted who? Kyle Hamilton. There's a rhyme and reason. So for me, not to
get hasn't happened a lot here on defense.
No, but John,
a lot
my
of
thing
Tristan
is,
Hills and Taco Charltons and
you bring up Tristan Hill one more time.
One more time.
No, I'm not done. Hold on. Trading up multiple picks, get Morris Claiborne. I mean, the best defensive player over the last 10 plus years fell in the lap. Nobody was going up and getting. Not only did they not go up and get, they actually traded back further. So, like, I get what you're saying offensively. Defensively, can't wait to see it. Haven't since I've covered the team.
But John, that's the point. We also haven't seen a 34-year-old defensive coordinator since you covered the team. That's why I'm saying, like, I want him in the room. He's probably doing a deep dive like Sky would do, or like myself, or you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Like, this is just me, and I'm done with it. I want somebody who's going to say, this is exactly what I know said player could do. And not just in the draft, but you're going to have to hit free agency as well. But I know in what I'm trying to do, because let's be honest, John, we don't need his defense to be number 10. We need his defense to be 17.
I don't even care what the number is. I would just like to see this thing where it's like you turn on the game and it seems like all 11 players know what they're doing.
That's why you hired this guy.
Start there.
Yeah.
We can start there.
Yeah. Yes,
I do also wonder. I don't think he's thinking of this. He's became defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, but something we should be thinking about is
you're right.
How much trust do we have in the scouts? Because I think when you are this bad at drafting defense for a better part of a decade, really, or at least half decade, and it got multiple coordinators, so that does not help. But when you are switching these coordinators, I'd imagine the scouts play a big part in, okay, this is who we're looking for you. Like, when do you start making those type of changes, or start doubting them? I don't know the intricacies of what they're doing, but I mean, when you're drafting this bad defensively, I mean,
that second round is gross, bro.
It's bad, bro.
It's a terrible one, man.
Second round.
Injury history, real bad. I love it. We'll take it. Anybody else? We'll take it.
It's laughable that it's like this.
You gotta have injuries in order to get
the cat boy criteria.
Cares more about his rap career. Love it.
Love him.
Boss man fat. Come
bro,
on
what?
Love him.
I really want to know who the hell stood on the table for that. I gotta know.
I don't know how. I'm not saying number one here, but that was a time when Dan Quinn was walking on water here.
Jesus.
That's true.
He was getting what he wanted. There's no way they were like, Dan, deal with it. You're dealing with boss man fat. God. If anything, he was probably selling it. I got it. I understand there's baggage here and stuff like that. I can work with this guy.
That's such a Jerry pick, though, right? Where reclamation guy, he got kicked out of school. He's bad. Red
Jerry
flags.
loved Dan, so I find it very hard to believe that he didn't.
Not saying Dan didn't sign off,
right?
But Jerry has publicly admitted that second round is the round where we like to take chances. He does stuff with this. We like to take chances, and Randy Gregory's and Jalen
no doubt.
Smith,
well, he pushed it back to the third round this time.
Hills and Bossman Fats.
Even Sean Lee.
Sean Lee, Bruce Carter, all those guys.
Yeah.
That's their. So it's like, come on, man. I'm glad they got rid of that second. Now they want ultra conservative. We ain't gonna get the bad boy. We gonna get the 27-year-old tight end that got a mortgage and 3 kids and know how to be a grown adult. He's mature. He's not mature. He's mature.
Like,
come on, man.
You know, all I was about this today when they did hire him was Savon Ravel-Law.
Yeah.
And how he was played at ECU and how the Cowboys deployed him in the defense that he was a press man corner. Let's just play him 10 yards off the ball. you know what I mean? And I'm reading John's article that's like, man, Christian Parker designs a scheme around his players.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
And people try to really just act like that didn't mean anything. Bro, you drafted a legitimate guy who played that much in college. He did that really well and said, you know what? You know what would be a good idea? To do the exact opposite when you ain't had no practice all off season. And people was like, that's not a big deal. That is a big deal.
Huge deal. Yeah. And when it comes to a guy's confidence, who was the guy telling Revel, man, hey, on this, you getting this? Probably nobody. It probably, you know what I mean? Just go through the day to day. And I'm sure they in meetings and stuff like that, they talk, but it's just it's just something about a guy who could say, hey, here you do this. Because I think the Revel could play. And I would have to think, John, in that interview, part of this was, hey, what's your plan for Revel?
Yeah.
What do you think about him?
Mm-hmm. And then he just started mentioning
Bland.
Because they pay him a lot of money, and Jerry is concerned. Okay, when they asked him about that foot, he sounded very concerned, as he should be. Because when you get two of your feet, or your feet, can you say 2 of your feet? Is that right, John?
That's right.
You get your foot.
Yeah.
2 foot.
When your foot is all your foot is messing up. That's a problem. So can you get the best out of this former All-Pro that we're paying a lot of money to and probably have no plans to cut this year? I think that's another question. Revel,
$92 million.
Hopefully, what do you think about safety? Because, boy.
Hey, John, I got some homework for you. I want chat right now to give John Machota a few questions that they want to ask Christian Parker. We'll get to these super chats. John, do you know when you'll have them?
No, we don't know yet.
Okay, all right. Well,
I just imagine that they probably would sometime next week.
I'm pretty sure. And then How we'll set this up, and then next week I'll be at the Senior Bowl, so we'll go half of that show, talk about like what's going on in the Senior Bowl. Really lost spot on us, a really loaded defensive back class. I'm actually catching up, make sure that I have all these guys pegged for the Senior Bowl. If I can get out of Maryland, pray for me because of the snow and everything.
Oh boy, it's about to get rough up here, bro.
Man,
when is the exact
prepping today?
Yeah, when is the exact day of the Senior Bowl that you will be there?
I'll be there on Tuesday, Law. The first practice.
Practice.
Literally going from the airport to the field.
The Shriner Bowl is on Tuesday, right? So that's the one that's here in Dallas.
That's the and it's some good prospects there. I think that John, it was a few jabs on Twitter. They said ever since what's his name went to Oklahoma, they've been getting a lot more big names. I don't know if I remember it quite like that, but it's some big names going to the Senior Bowl. I'm talking about guys that are like top 5. Ruben Bain, Bailey's going. It feels like Miami's whole secondary is going. A lot of good corners, so we'll have plenty to talk about. And so John, chat, put some questions in there, and we'll get John throws us a bone every once in a while. And then what I wanted to do next show or the show after is start looking at who's safe and who's safe and who's not, based on like kind of more information, because more information is going to come out roster wise. Like this roster is about to not look the same on purpose, hopefully.
Nice.
So let's read these supers, and then I'll let everybody go, because what a smoker of a show. Look at my African American over there.
Gotcha.
How does this up-and-coming draft look with this hire, and how much do you think the new DC will have? Sky, why don't you take this one?
Major say in free agency, because that's their MO. I look, they're changing some of their stripes, or at least painting over top of them, but then there's some things that just ain't go. And what they usually do with a new defensive coordinator, as they should, is they say, hey man, what you need in free agency. And it's usually bottom barrel guys, but it is what it is. They're going to probably sign a healthy amount of guys that can fit this scheme, whether it's Dollar General dudes or not. I hope it's more than just Dollar General dudes.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Sky. And then the draft, how does I said it, and now Sky, bro, this is my dog, and we talked about this. Well, we can't start talking about any of this draft stuff until we know who the defensive coordinator is. I'm here to tell you, this is going to be a great year for me and my content.
All TVs, man.
Not only is this a deep class, but we have somebody who knows what they're doing and has a type. Oh, let's roll. Great draft for DBs. It's a really deep class. Caleb Downs needs to be the pick. I'd rather hit on one than miss. John, this is one I think that you can take, because I'm with you. What do you think about Caleb Downs? Cowboys just saying, you know what? Let's just go get the sure thing, because I think he's a surefire thing.
Are you talking about like trading up?
Trading up. Let's go right in.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would rather have those 2-1s and get a corner or a linebacker or an edge rusher or something. I don't know. I mean, I actually think there's a better chance that they trade one of those ones back to get like a 2 or something, like 2 or 3 or something like that. I don't think that they would trade up. There's just too much that they need to fix on this defense, and especially having a new defensive coordinator. I just don't see how they will sit there and go, so you only think we're like one player away? Even with like at corner, I say draft a corner in the first round. That's even with me thinking that they will sign some type of a veteran. Like I mean, that's not going to be somebody that's, a big deal or something like that, but like a 1-year deal from a veteran corner that he likes that's out there, obviously like happened with Kyrie Elam this past year, so that you aren't going in the draft where you're just like, well, we have to use one of those first on a corner. So I personally love Caleb Downs, and it would be great. I don't think I would trade up though for what it would cost.
Quickly, I don't want to hold it too long. Every time we talk about trading up, we always think about trading a 2-1s. What if it doesn't take that?
I was just
because
you don't have a 2 or a 3, so that's the only reason. I just know how valuable they look at next year's 2s and 3s and stuff like that. So that's the only reason why. If they had a 2 and a 3 and it was like a normal draft for them, plus they had the extra 1 from the Micah thing, then yeah, I could see that. But them not having a 2 or 3, I don't know how they would have the ammo to do all that.
Yeah, but you can tap into next year's picks. I don't know if any players were trading, honestly, but you can get creative. But
it's hard. You don't see that very often, though. Trading premium picks from the next year's draft, unless it's for.
But I'm saying but if he's at 10, you're at 12. I'm not giving up my first round pick. So, I could give you next year's third because it's 2 spots. You know what I'm saying?
John, if he starts getting close,
if that's a possibility, sure.
If he starts getting close, I'd be tempted.
Absolutely.
With him and Caleb Downs, that's as close to a sure thing that I've covered in a long time. But we won't stay.
With all due respect, I'm not trading 2 first-round picks for the safety.
No,
I'm not doing that.
No, I'm not trading both those ones for anybody in this draft.
Fact.
No,
I wouldn't trade both those ones for Fernando Mendoza.
Don't get greedy and draft for needs. Take the number 1 player if you can. Downs is there at 10. Would you? Yeah, and this is kind of what Scott's and I like what Too Cool is saying. Good stuff. Yes. Defense at 17 shouldn't be the standard. No, and I guess that's
you're speaking in general, right?
Yeah,
right. What this offense can bring. I got what you were saying when you said that.
Yeah, year 1 though, I think we should level our expectations. I'm not expecting this defense to just go from worst. It has happened before, but go from worst to first because you don't have all the ingredients.
No. And to be fair, Sky, so Sydney, I'm saying 17 with the way this offense is, and now year 2 in this offense next year, this offense is going to get better with Booker, with Dak still playing at a very high level. It's going to get better. I think that if you had the 17th ranked defense, you could get a stop or 2, and it's not.
You've been still playing this week, yeah.
You still be playing football. So I think that, and that's why to me, I kind of will flirt with moving up if Downs is close because I think that if he went into that meeting and said I can fix playing, he could still play if he's healthy. I know what Revel can do. Now you still probably need to get a corner at some point in some juncture.
I'm still trade that second first-round pick for a proven defensive guy.
Yeah. That's fine too.
I know Max Crosby's a big name, but dude, I haven't did the research on who could potentially be available. I don't care if it's
Trey Hendrickson,
if it's defense end, if it's an elite linebacker, if it's an elite corner, an elite safety. Like if I can try to finesse one of those picks, the second pick, honestly,
or if somebody calls you,
somebody calls
sometimes what happens is like a week before the season starts, like a team decides to shop their best player, and all of a sudden you're the Packers, and you're like, I can get this for 2 ones. It just happens. It's crazy. Sometimes they call you.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something if we make a similar trade and we involve Kenny Clark because he's such a movable?
Oh yeah,
that'd be crazy. Great show tonight, guys. Everybody have a good evening. Run this back on the rewind. When you do, please leave a 5-star rating. Sleeper, thank you for sponsoring this channel. The Cowboys do have a new defensive coordinator, Johnny. You guys leave some questions. Hey, in the comments, leave a question you guys want John to ask him, whether it's scheme, whether it's ask him, John, what's your favorite album? I don't know. Ask something so we can learn more about this guy. And we will catch you guys on the rebound. Much love. Peace.
D'Angelo Pons, baby.
That's lost.